Pardon me. It's 8 o'clock. Hello, welcome. Good to see you. Good to see you back again. I'm just going to set up over here. So bear with me a moment. Okay, might as well screenshot that one. Okay. Where are we? What a day. What a day. I'm not that deflated, really, I promise. It's been a long day. It's been a long week. It's been a big week, actually. And I really appreciate all your questions coming through for the live stream. I'm going to pop that over there so it's not in the way. Okay, welcome. Welcome to the live stream, everyone. My name's Matt Bailey. I'm the National Ambassador for the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, and I endeavour to do a live stream every single day, except for weekends. But I'm doing them every single weeknight at the moment. I've missed one or two here or there, as you well know. I missed one last night. I had a rehearsal I couldn't get out of, and I had a something last week. There was only 4 last week instead of 5. If you missed this out on the live stream, of course, you can always catch up with this on the SMWS Australia YouTube channel. I welcome you to check it out because there's actually other content we put up on the YouTube channel as well as these. There's some great videos from Charlie McLean that have just gone up over the last couple of days and more to come. And of course, others will be going up. And I've got a really special thing that I'm working on, which is happening later this week. Which is happening in Melbourne, and I've got a very early flight, but that'll be all tomorrow. That'll be all tomorrow's streams. But I really appreciate you tuning in right now. Just Dramming, Whiskey Saurus, Dram, Jay Hodes, Brick, Nick Husek, Wonder and Whisk. Oh, that's me. Keegan Emmons. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Jamie Pooh's 1995. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Now the reason why I'm pouring this particular dram is because I've taken quite a liking to it, and I think it's one that I want to discuss a bit more of. And I got a great question from one of our members in Sydney, Mark Garraway, who asked a question for the Instagram live stream tonight, and I said, of course, I'd answer it. And I've got some questions which came through on our Instagram story as well, which was fantastic as well. So thank you again for all your amazing questions, as always, and I'll get to those after I pour this. I'm using the SCS glass tonight because I feel like it. And you know what? The other reason is I couldn't find a society glass that was clean. There's one dirty glass on my shelf over there, which I haven't taken haven't washed yet. And then, and I don't know where the rest of my glassware is at the moment because the office, as I said before, right now is in a state of flux. There's a lot of things happening at the society at the moment. This is, I'll be completely honest with you, completely transparent before I pour that. This is actually transition week for us. This is where, for those who got the email, and all members got it, of course, this week is the full transition week into ASC, into our new identity. It's still the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, as you know and love, but this week is a week where we're changing to complete subsidiary of the UK. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes at the moment, which doesn't actually affect the member experience at all, which is what's most important. That's what we've put a lot of work into in terms of making sure that everything is maintained. Continuity of outturn, continuity of great live streams, continuity of great low prices for members, partner bar deals, everything like that we do. The way that we communicate it, however, needs to get better. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to pour just a smidgen of this because I'm not going to have a big one. Just a tiny smidge of that to have a taste, to have a nose and taste of. I've got to save the rest of what's in that bottle for a special little event coming up. It's immediately quite thick and viscous on the nose, like cream biscuits, port wine. Almost like a what's the word for it? Like stewed apples. It's like a apple strudel. A lot going on in there. I'm going to let that sit and open up for a moment. So yes, I'm going to get to some of the questions, however, because I got asked some great questions. Now, one of the questions was actually regarding this bottle in 139.5 Midnight Espresso. Now, this is from Distillery 139, which is in Taiwan. There's 2 distilleries in Taiwan. One of them is called Nantu, which produces the Omar single malts, Nantu, and this is the other one. So that's what I'm going to preface by saying what it is. It starts with K and ends in Avalan. We've only had 3 in Australia, 3 different casks out of the 5 that have been released so far. The .6 is coming soon. So 3 out of the 5 have been released. They've been really well received. The .4 sold out in a flash because it was the first one that we saw. Then we saw a very small allocation of .1, and then we saw a very small allocation of .5, 30 bottles of this one. I'd like to send a huge thanks and big ups out to Dr. Ian Chang from Cavalan, who's just finished up at Cavalan Distillery. Now, Dr. Ian Chang was integral in building the distillery, in shaping what it is today, and he's been there for the last 15, almost 16 years now. Ian, all the best, mate. I hope whatever's around the corner for you, I'm sure you've got something very special lined up. Whatever's around the corner for you coming up in your career is going to be equally as exciting. But I want to thank you for all your years of service at Cavalan, of course, in shaping what that distillery is today. It really is a true powerhouse distillery in the new world distilling scene. And some of their bottlings, especially ones that we get to personally pick out, like these, have been really well received, great reviews, and panel approved single casks from the society as always. Now, see, the question I got from Mark, however, on this particular bottling, wasn't particular to this bottling, but was to this distillery, was he said he saw the news about the master blender, Ian, leaving Cavalan, and it made him think about the influence that the distillery's mindset is on selling casks to someone like the SMWS. We are the only independent bottler of this distillery, of Cavalan. So I guess that, the question was, who, like people like the SMWS, and we're talking about negotiating with the casks and do we negotiate with the master blender like Ian? And if he leaves, how does that influence our relationship? It does. It does influence our relationship. Now, I don't know if that means that we had these casks directly through Ian. We did get them direct through the distillery, but there's quite a few people who work there, so it may have been someone in warehouse. It may have been the warehouse master. It may have been someone. It could have been Ian. I don't know. It was probably Ian. But we've got a relationship with them, and we can still go back to them and say, hey, we bottled 6 casks already from your distillery, and we picked them out. Can we go for the next 6 now, or something like that? I'm sure that won't change because we've got a good relationship with them, and this is the only society bottling ever released. This distillery is the only society distillery, I should say, released where there's no age statement listed on the bottle. Now, it was one of those decisions that I've talked about before on the stream. The decision came about from wondering whether should you bottle something because if it doesn't carry an age statement, should the society bottle it? Versus if it's just great spirit, what difference does it make? Now, Philip Story, who is a whiskey reviewer in the UK, he's based out of London, I believe. Sorry if I'm wrong there, Phil. But I had the pleasure of meeting Philip last year at one point, which was great. But if you've read any of his reviews, he wrote a great article on he wrote a great article on his website about the first no age statement society whiskey. Everything we bottle has an age statement, whether it be 2 years old. I've seen 2 years old and I've seen 48 years old and everything in between. So for us to have a no age statement on there is at the request of the distillery, not our doing, of course. And that means that we're able to bottle these spirits for members and make sure that they are able to enjoy them rather than not. It's opened up a fair bit now. So it's a no age statement, but it's a single cask. It's a first fill port barrique. Now, if you read the article we just posted on the Society Whiskey Wise website on smws.com.au/news, you can see there's an article about 4 different common cask types: barrels, barriques, butts, and hogsheads. BBBH. So if you have a look at that article, you can see what a barrique is. The word barrique is basically a French word for barrel. It's ever so slightly bigger than a bourbon barrel, and it's used for maturing wine, in this case port. It's an export barrique. So port is the previous fill, barrique is the size. And global usage, if you like. So quite winey on the nose, like huge like wine tubes, cream biscuit. Arnott's cream assorted. There you go. It's a bit more Australian. It reminds me of actually some Australian whiskies in some ways. It's got that sort of heavy sort of port cask, wine cask influence that a lot of Aussie whiskies do. We've talked about this before. It's a big one. I'm going to still let that sit and mellow out just for a moment. Let me grab some. 45 Fin, good to see you. I'm going to grab some of the other questions, however, that you asked on Instagram earlier today. Whiskey Josmo writes, what's your week like as a brand ambassador? Sorry if you've covered this before. No, I probably have covered parts of that before, but my week as a brand ambassador is very varied every week. there's very little consistency to my role. Some weeks I'll be in 3 different cities. I'll be hosting 6 different events across 7 days. I rarely get weekends in winter anymore. There's often events, bookings, all sorts of things happening all around the calendar every week throughout winter, especially. A little bit in autumn now coming into it, a little bit in spring as well, of course, and then another influx coming closer to Christmas, that late November, early December Christmas party period. But my average week can be quite varied. I could do a series on these. I could do a week on these if you want to follow me around or something like that. I could do a few more lives, like 3 a day or something. But basically, there's some weeks where, like this week, for instance, I'm in Melbourne and Sydney. I have 2 events. I have a media event. I have a meeting tomorrow. I'm doing a bit of a reveal tomorrow morning, which you'll see more of, and of a special project that we've been working on. If you've been following our Insta, our main posts on Instagram, you'll see it, but you would have seen a sneak peek of what's going on there. So that's kind of cool. But sometimes it just means part of my role is the development side of it, which is the growth of the society in Australia. Welcoming new members, working on our email program, working on our marketing, our member recruitment, our member retention, all those kind of things, and building in value to what we do to our main product, which is membership, and building in more value to the main product, which encourages more members to join. And the more members we get, of course, the higher allocations and the better access to single casks we get. But we've got a couple of thousand members in Australia, which is great, and we've got 35,000 around the world. As I said, we're still, I think, something like the 3rd biggest branch, which is fantastic. The Australian branch has some of, if not the youngest membership worldwide, which is great. A very young membership base here. Our 25 to 34-year-old bracket is quite big, which is great to see. But my role as a brand ambassador is to promote the brand, be an ambassador for not just the society. And I've talked about this part before. I don't just consider myself a brand ambassador. I consider it a category ambassador. It's about representing whiskey in the best light, not just representing one brand that you work for or represent, in general. But the idea behind it, Jules Mo, is that it's a chance for me to go around the country and actually be a part of the community in each city, in each town, in where as far as I can stretch, and be a part of and bringing great spirits to people. And the way that Pep Hills used to talk about the society is something that I still believe in today, was that you don't really need to, there's not too much marketing that really needs to be done with the society. The best way to describe what's going on is to put it in someone's glass, and they get a much better understanding of what it's all about. By the way, Whiskey Jules Mo, welcome to the society. You're a relatively new member, I think, in the last week or so. So, and happy birthday as well. Enjoy that 68.23, 68.21. The exact code escapes me, but the Scottish trifle Italian liqueur one. There you go. Let me grab some of these comments. You go on the Japanese SMWS and they have so much. Some Rowan guy, yeah, we have a lot as well, but we just don't put it all up at once. They do the way they run their outturns and their releases, Rowan, is that they put up a lot at once, and they have a lot that they sit on for a long time. They are about the same size as our branch, actually, in Japan. They have just as many members as we do, if not a little bit less, to be honest. But we're good friends with the Japan branch, and they put up a lot on the website, but as do we. We've got 3 pages of stock on the website at the moment. But we don't release as much in one hit as they do. And that means they sit on that stock for a longer time, but we often release just in outturns and mid-months. Whiskey Man Sam says, love the comment and representing whiskey in general as the brand ambassador. Yeah, you know what, Whiskey Man Sam, it's true. You've got to consider yourself a category ambassador, I think of it. Like, you've got to be fully supportive of the category, not just your brand. And I think that's, because if it's just your brand, it's kind of like, you become a bit pigeonholed, as some brand ambassadors find. It's like they learn so much about their brand that they start losing sense of reality with the periphery of the whole industry. And I think it's important to be a category ambassador, which makes you not just more knowledgeable, but more versatile as well. Especially if you get called up by a mate who's a fellow whiskey ambassador to help cover one of his gigs. There you go. Which I've had to do before. Whiskey Yours Mo, the only last thing I'd tell you about being a brand ambassador is it's not all just glamorous running around drinking whiskey. There is also the usual quite a bit of the paperwork, the reporting, the expense reports, all that kind of stuff that they all need to be done, and that's always the fun part of the job, as I say, semi-sarcastically. But it's there are often stretches, like especially early in the year, especially January, which is great, where there's not many events at all. We do a lot of events at the Society, as you know, but it's a great slow month for us. Not in terms of outturn, we do a little outturn, like a nice summary outturn, but in terms of, oh, by the way, some of my role, of course, works with Susie and Andrew in building outturn each month, which is fantastic, and that's something we do locally every month. But the thing, where am I going with this? Yeah, there are some weeks where it's great. I get like 3 or 4 or 5 days in a row, maybe even 2 or 3 weeks in a row sometimes, which is extremely rare, where I get to work out of the office here without too much interruption, and it's all nice and quiet, and people are still recovering from the holiday break. So it's a good chance for us to do planning, to do research and planning. We do a fair bit of research and planning at Society, research into market, research into membership, and all that kind of stuff, and where we can build value into the membership. That's a lot of my role. There you go. I'm doing a whiskey tasting, if you like, for Unfiltered magazine. Now our main members magazine. I'm doing a tasting for the magazine Friday night. So little things here and there. Calby Chan asks, does being a member in one branch allow you to purchase from another? No, Calby, it doesn't, I'm sorry. It allows you to attend member events and visit their partner bars and rooms, their private member rooms in other countries. It doesn't allow you to purchase bottles from the other branches, unfortunately, because it just becomes too complicated. That's why, for instance, New Zealand members can't purchase Australian bottles, and they often kick up a stink about that. And Australians can't purchase bottles from the New Zealand branch either. So back and forth like that. Same for Japan, same for others. They get the same stock. Most branches get the same stock, mind you. I mean, like I say, we can only stretch out a single cask so many ways and make sure that it's a fair allocation to each market. But if you see like one branch has a 9.171, then another branch might have a 9.172. I might get Andrew to do a full live stream soon on talking more about allocations. But there is a great article on our Society website on the /news page called How Do Allocations Work, and it's really interesting to read. Andrew wrote that one maybe a year ago. It's really quite good. The range in Japan is not actually bigger. It's just they pop it all on the website faster. As in, like, they don't really do a monthly outturn. I think they just quarterly just pop it all up on the site. I'm not really sure. They didn't used to do an outturn. Maybe they've started doing one now. But if they've got a bigger range, it's because members just aren't buying some of the bottles that they've been putting out, maybe. That could be a possibility as well. We've got a very active branch here in Australia. We get the cream of the crop of selections of allocations. I can't stress that enough. Andrew really does go through the offered up spreadsheet of all the casks from the vaults and picks the eyes out of it and gets the best of what he knows members will appreciate here. He does skip over some of the casks that might be similar to something we've just had or currently have, kind of thing. So we don't get that's why you don't often see 7 Young and Sprightleys on the website at the same time. You don't see 7 Young and Sprightleys in the same outturn, for instance. So, we just try and keep a balance of codes, of casks, of distilleries, and you're going to see a ripper March outturn with some really lovely whiskies in it as well there. I'm really excited by that. So let me go to some of the other questions that came through. Mr. Kareem asks, how do you choose the bottles to feature at SMWS tasting events, i.e. Hobart event coming up in March? That's a good segue for me to say, yes, we have a great event coming up in Hobart. It's in a collaboration with Gold Bar, basically along the water in the arcade there with Gold Bar. It's a Saturday afternoon, the 21st of March. I'd love to see you there. If you're a Tasmanian, please come along. It'll be a good fun. We're going to drink whiskey, eat cheese. I almost said drink cheese, eat whiskey. Whatever. And have a great night. But how do we select whiskies for our events? That's a really good question, and it's one that both Andrew and I work on quite a bit. The trick is to look at our warehouse, to look at what's coming in, and it's usually somewhere between 40 to 60 to 70 different casks at a time that come in, and that might last us, sometimes on a big sea freight order, might last us 3 or 4 months, if we're lucky, but sometimes it's 2 months, just due to demand. But however, we do often see, so the way that Andrew and I will pick through them is going, oh, well, we want to start here, we want to end there, we want some surprise in this middle kind of thing. Do we normally work it around theme, around a broad diversity of cask types, of age statements, of distilleries? It normally goes in that order as well: cask types, age statements, then distilleries. It doesn't matter if there's two different casks of a distillery 36 in a lineup, for instance, or something like that. If one of them's a 7-year-old refill bourbon and then one of them's a 27-year-old sherry, because the contrast and comparison point would be fascinating to do as well. So yeah, there's ways of, that's an exciting way to look at it. I'm so glad I'm glad I'm saving up for March then. Yeah, exactly. Will you be attending the event the next day in Tassie, Matt? The next day in Tassie? You mean the 21st or the 22nd? I don't know. I'll be there. Don't worry, I'm in Tassie that week. Titan 00000 joined. Hello Titan. Good to see you. Got a lot of photography. Good to see you. Pete, I hope you're well, mate. John Hamilton joined. Good to see you, John. So yeah, that was the great question, Mr. Cream. We normally pick it out based on theme, and we normally like to pick out some something really special in the middle here and there, and we'll have the opportunity to do that in the next. I'm really looking forward to that Tassie event because the lineup is going to be ripper. Okay, another question from Rowan is March sneak peek. Not yet. Sorry, they're not quite there yet. I mean, we normally like to start the sneak peeks just so you know about a week before, about the same time as Whiskey and Helmet start getting the outturn for the month as well. So we're Whiskey and Helmet should have that outturn shortly. They'll announce it when they get it. But yeah, we're looking at it's a ripper March outturn. It's a lot of fun. It's a very diverse outturn, if you put it that way. And there's one premium livery in there, which in this case will be limit 1 per member. And Malt of the Month is good fun. Is an iconic Speyside distillery. Yes, look, I'll be there for both, J-Hodes. I'll be there for both. I'll definitely be there for the Society one because I'm hosting it with Alex. And Alex's event the day after, I'll need to see how I go. Because I might need to be back in Sydney that night, but I'll see how I go. Our Hands joined. Good to see you. Excited for March. Me too, Calby. Don't worry. Those are your questions, folks. This has been a great live stream. Really appreciate it. Oh, I haven't had a sip of this dram yet. Choose a big one. Wow. Oh, that is far bigger than I was ready for. 57.8. The juicy fruits on the palate. It's like raisins and dark cherries. Look, it's a premium bottling. There's only 7 left on the website for anyone who's thinking about jumping on that. It's not a cheap bottling, but it's certainly a piece of distilling history and a part of society's New World approach with some of our whiskies. Some wrong guy, yes. Well, I can reveal to you now. This isn't any. There's no secret about this part because you asked, Rowan. There's 3 more blended batches coming onto the website very shortly. One of them is there's an extra allocation of Trifle Delightful coming because we missed out on some cases from a previous shipment. So Trifle Delightful, which was batch 6. Batch 7 is coming, which is Battle Axe. That'll be up online shortly. And Big Swirl. We've got the monster allocation of Big Swirl. That's the big sherried blended malt. The follow-up to Exotic Cargo, if you like. They're all going to be very... if you liked the pricing on them last time, you're going to like them even more this time. I'm really excited by that. So we've got a bit more economy of scale with those ones, and we've got a bit better price. We pass all those discounts onto members, which is what we're about. We're a club. So they're all coming. There's 3 new ones which will land online shortly. We'll offer them up as a triple pack on the website if you want to get all 3, but you'll also be able to get them individually as well, because Big Swirl will be definitely a quaffer. A good one to keep on hand and enjoy. J-Hodes, I've just discovered that. Keen on Swirl. Yes, Big Swirl's coming, Grown. Castering Cleveland tends to take you by surprise as the first round. It certainly did. It's my first round of the night. It's got a much punchier palate than I was ready for. Much better second time. Time. All my words tonight. All the words. Whew. Okay, I'm going to let that sit for the last sip there. for a while, and I'll come back to that. But I really appreciate your live stream. Now, tomorrow's live stream, I really appreciate your live stream. I appreciate you tuning into my live stream and asking great questions and interacting. Tomorrow's live stream will be live from Melbourne somewhere, and the exact time of the live stream is yet to be determined because my timetable is a nightmare tomorrow. I have to be up at 5 a.m. for my flight. And then, yeah, Friday will be an interactive live stream with a few guests, I presume. So I'll catch up with you all tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in as always, and I'll and have a great evening. And hope you're all getting some of that lovely breeze that's cutting through this humidity a bit today. Yes, and I'll catch up with you all tomorrow. Thanks again. Cheers.